This is Andy Purewal for Boxing News. I'm joined by trainer Dave Coldwell over Zoom. Dave, good to see you in this relatively quiet boxing week for us here in the UK. How are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Obviously you had Mr. Dan Howard return this past weekend on Friday night. I'm Josh Kelly undercard. Just walk me through his performance and how pleased you were for him to kind of come back from the demons of his last fight.
Yeah, very, very pleased. He's a young kid, and to put himself in a situation where he's coming back from the loss, but in his hometown with all that pressure on him, I thought he handled it really, really well. Boxed really nice. Picked up on a few mistakes that he made in the first, in the previous fight. Uh, boxed, picked his shots really well. Set his opponent up for the finish, and the finish was lovely, really, really nice. So I'm very happy for him, and he deserves that. He works so hard, he lives the life, um, and yeah, it was what he needed really. And like I said, under the pressure and everything of his hometown, it was nice that he delivered and got the finish as well.
Do you feel like now, because of that defeat as well, despite this comeback, it might be a bit more of a slower progress and a progression now to get back to where you want him to be?
Yeah, which is what I want anyway. I, he's very young. I get it with these Olympians that are, in the mid-20s or whatever, and they're on the fast track and all that. But, Dan's like 22 years old, 20, just turning 23. So he's got plenty of time on his hands. Um, there's no need to rush. He's got bags of potential. He's just got to learn and got to get experience and got to learn how to relax a little bit and enjoy the moment in what he's doing. He's on the right path, but there's so much more for him to learn in the game before he starts stepping up and fighting for titles and things like that. Just want to keep him active, keep him regular, get the quality sparring in, where he can learn and develop in, practice things, and then take him into the fights. But yeah, that's what it is. You've got bags of time.
Obviously, I'm the undercard of Josh Kelly, who had that first round stoppage victory. Dave, when Josh, you had that unbelievable amateur career, somewhat for most people now will feel like he's been very slow with his progression in the pro ranks. What do you feel like he takes away from a victory against the man he beat on Friday night, and where to next for somebody like a Josh Kelly?
Takes away bundles of confidence. That's all that sort of opponent and finish does. It gives you the confidence. It's nice. It's a nice pat on the back. Everyone likes a good highlight reel finish, and I think that's what he takes away. And I think people that are watching it on terrestrial TV that might not be boxing people just see that as a spectacular knockout. It's like, oh, who's this good? Oh. And it keeps the bandwagon going, creates more hype for him. Um, he's at the stage of his career where he needs a big fight. He needs a big fight. He needs that that undoubted talent. He needs that put on a stage and put into a fight where he can express himself, go for it, and see, if he's good enough to become world level and world champion.
Obviously, over the weekend as well, we were treated to two unbelievable stadium main events. I don't think anybody would have expected Callum Simpson to be in the war that he was in, and Fabio Wardley having to pull out the fire with that 10th round knockout victory against Justice Huni when at that point all hope had seemed lost. Just on the Callum Simpson front, as I know you was up there, what did you make of his war, his performance, and eventually finding a way to get the stoppage?
That was crazy. I mean, it was literally the second punch that Zuko threw, and I think it was timed at 8 seconds, and he finds himself decked. And it was like, wow. And it's one of those where you just think, oh shit, because the big crowd, hometown, the ring walk, everything was great. And then for that to happen, it was like, wow. And he came back from it really well, and then got dropped again, and then just came back from it, and his intense pressure, his output, physicality. Zuko was never comfortable with that. Even early doors, even having dropped him uh, towards the end of the round, the first round we're talking about, Zuko didn't look comfortable. I think he was moaning about getting hit and back ahead, and he never looked like a man that was like I'm comfortable with this. I'm gonna smash him no matter what. He was a case of like he had to ride out and grit his teeth throughout the majority and look to try and catch Callum on the way in, which he did a couple of times. Um, yeah, a great learning fight. I did say before the fight, I did see this fight as a good old fashioned, old school European title fight. What I meant by that, and what I mean by that, is that back in the day of Bomber Graham, Johnny Nelson, people like that that I grew up with, watching them in the gym and as their career unfolded, you would watch them go and fight Russians, Italians, Germans that you've never heard of, but they were good, solid European level fighters, European champions, European title challengers, and they'd make for great 12-round fights, really good fights. And they were the fights where they'd learn from, have to grit the teeth, lose some rounds, have adversity, learn from, then come through and then progress to the next level, which is world level. Really good fights. And I saw this because we get a lot of European title fights where we get opponents that have just been picked and it's 1 or 2 round facile victories sort of thing. This was for me going into it because the level of Callum's experience, and because of what I've seen of Zuko, I thought this was going to be a hard fight, hard grinding sort of fight for him, which would teach him some lessons in preparation. And what I like about Callum is that he doesn't profess to claim that he's ready for world class now and world honors now. He doesn't. He talks about in 4 or 5 fights time, a year, 18 month time. I like that. He's doing it the right. This is what I'm saying about the old school method. Clean up, get the domestic belts, the Commonwealth belts, get to European level, have a few fights. There's too many people that win a European title and then all of a sudden say, right, we're ready for world now. No, get that foundation in, solidify yourself at that level, and then step up. And I think with Callum, he's one of those fighters that needs that. Um, and I think that's what he got from that fight, and from what they're talking, he's going to stay at that level, and that's all. More power to him. In terms of Fabio Wardley, wow, I got back and I watched that, and I was like,
Did you
I
watch
was
as soon as
shocked.
you got back from Barnsley, or?
Yeah, I watched it when I got back, and it was just. But listen, I'm a big fan of Fabio. Like any fighter that can switch somebody's lights out at any time, you got to be a bit of a fan of because no matter what's happening in the fight, you've got that. You've got that. What if? Can he? Can he? And for me, he showed as an athlete in the first Fraser Clark fight that he can go at a pace. He's athletic. He's a very fit kid to be able to do that. Um, in this fight, I just thought Justice Honey just boxed really well. I thought he boxed really well. Uh, my only experience of watching Honey really, or taking notice of Honey, was when I was out in Saudi and he boxed Kevin Lorena. And I'll be honest with you, I thought, oh, I think he's going to get bombed out by Fabio. More or less after a few rounds, 4 or 5 rounds maybe. But he boxed so well, so well. Fabio looked like he was hurt a few times. He was definitely uncomfortable throughout the majority of the fight. Um, Looked tired, and but he's got so much bottle, so much grit, and he's got that never say die attitude. And in his mind, I believe he just thought, I'm going to get you at some point, and he did. The right hand that took him out was brilliant, fantastic. So yeah, he pulled it out. At the end of the day. Yes, he was losing majority of rounds, and some people say, oh, he got lucky, but he throws that shot on the heavy bag, he throws that shot on the pads regularly all the time. He delivered it on fight night, and so it's not, to me. I don't believe it's a lucky punch. It's a trained punch that they work on, and he happened to land it on the night, and and that's how it goes. Sometimes you can find the timing on it round one. Sometimes it's never there, never there, and you just get closer and closer and closer, and then you get it towards the end of the fight. Doesn't mean you got lucky. It's something that you work on in the gym. It's a basic shot, but he executed it really well, and he landed it and caught it. And Honey also made the mistake. He followed through a little bit with his own 1-2. I think he squared up a little bit and walked straight onto the shot. I thought he did really well getting up anyway, but he'll come back from that. I mean, he didn't have a full camp. He come in at what was it, 4 or 5 weeks,
5
something
weeks.
like that. So he did really, really well.
The one thing which a few people have been debating online is was the count a little quick? Should
Mm.
justice have been given that time when he got up to his feet? What did you think?
I don't know if it was quick. I've seen a couple of bits of. I haven't sat there in time myself, but I've seen a couple of bits of clip where somebody runs the clock on, and it wasn't quick according to the clock. In real time, you do think it's a little bit quick. I'll be honest with you. I can see why the ref stopped it. It was quite a heavy knockdown, but it was so far in front. It's coming towards the end of a fight, last couple of rounds of a fight. With what's at stake, you kind of think, well, give him the benefit of doubt. He's got up. Um, I've seen fights. Listen, if fights were stopped like that consistently, then Tyson Fury had never been able to have got up and go against, the famous knockdown against Deontay Wilder. There's a lot of fights where we see where the fighters do go over, get up, and come back and get through it. It's one of those things. It's subjective. The referee makes a call. Um, do I think he'd have probably got? Would Fabio have got the finish? I think so. All it does is it kind of like robs Fabio of the clean finish, if you want to say that. But I've seen worse, and yeah, it's one of those. If you team Honey, you're gonna be moaning and a bit upset about it. But it's always down to the ref's discretion, and we always do say, listen, at the end of the day, had it gone on, and you talk about Fabio Wardley who can really really punch, and had it gone on, and if it ever hit him clean, unprotected, and put him in a bad way, then the ref's gonna get hammered for not stopping the fight. So I suppose you're gonna say as a neutral or whatever, you'd probably say it's better to be safe than sorry.
People calling Fabio the UK's Deontay Wilder. What do you make of that tag, Dave? Do you think it's fair? Do you think it's unfair? Do you think it takes away from Fabio's boxing ability? What do you make of that?
I think he's Fabio Wardley. I don't say, what I mean? He's completely different to Wilder. I think he's shown he's more athletic. He's got more to his game. I'm not saying he's going to do better things than what Wilder did. I'm just saying if you're talking about in comparison, the only comparison that you've got is that power. You know, and I'm not saying because we don't know yet because he's not been at the higher levels yet. But he's got the power. He's got the ability to turn your lights out at any stage in a fight. That is rare in boxing, and so that comparison is there. But in terms of anything else, then no.
Sticking with the theme of the heavyweights, Anthony Joshua and his return, waiting to see what's going to be lined up for him. I've seen a few people suggest now it's definitely not going to be Tyson Fury first up. I've seen the name Jarrell Miller mentioned, but Matt True and Frank Eddy keep on kind of throwing out there Deontay Wilder. Dave, obviously Deontay's got his return at the end of this month. It provided there's no slip ups in that fight. Do you feel like there's still value and there's still interest, at least on your behalf, in a Joshua Wilder fight?
Why not? Why not? Listen, Wilder's not the fighter he once was, but then is AJ. So it's one of those where neither of them are at the same place where when we wanted the fight to happen. It's just a lesson to promoters and people, managers, and even fighters. Where when the fight's hot and it's there, take it because it's not guaranteed to happen and it's not guaranteed to be worth the same as what it is at this moment in time. And I always think, well, do the fight, and then if it's that good, you can have a rematch down the line as well. Um, Rather than building, and getting greedy, so to speak. Would I still want to see it? Yeah, I would. Because it's a fun fight, and as a neutral, it's a fun fight. You want to see two guys that can punch. I'd like to see what Wilder's got left in this comeback fight because he's not looked good his last couple of fights. To the point where he can't pull the trigger anymore. When a fighter can't pull the trigger, I don't think they should be boxing. Um, you know, um, it looks like he ain't got any legs. Um, and he's hesitant, and like I said, no trigger. He's always going to be tough as old boots. He's got plenty of bottle, plenty of heart, but when there's nothing else there, they shouldn't be boxing. So it'll be interesting to see how he looks when he has this comeback fight, because I can't, obviously he's getting on as well now, so I can't see him getting any better. So we'll see. But if he looks like the shadow and the shell of his former self that he has done in his last couple of fights, then really, I don't think that fight should happen.
Dave, we're about 5 or so weeks away now from Daniel Dubois, Alexander Usyk 2. Do you have a prediction? Do you have a pick?
Not really. I think Dubois done fantastic. I think he's grown as a fighter, as a man. He's matured. But for me, it'll always depend on what Usyk's got left. I think the fights with Fury, don't forget Usyk's not naturally the big man. So when you're giving away natural size and strength, even when you're getting thumped around by these big heavyweights on shoulders, and I'm talking about all the guys that he's fought at heavyweight. He's had the hard fights um, hard moments with AJ where the physicality has been there. He's had the hard fights with Fury, um,
Chisora?
Chisora. Uh, even just being in there and the shots that you're taking off of Dubois in the first fight, it takes its toll on you and on the smaller man. Joints, pains, injuries. Obviously, sparring bigger men. There's damage, accumulative effect there as well. So as you get into a certain age, these things start taking its toll. I remember I've worked with old fighters before, and you see that change in fighters where they can't quite do the same things, or maybe they can't train at the same intensity because obviously age, injuries, picking up injuries all the time, you're having to manage that. So for me, it depends on what he's got left. If Usyk's still got a lot left, then I still think Usyk rides out some tricky moments as he knows how to, and I think Usyk wins the fight. But sometimes in boxing, it's all about timing, and we know that Dubois can punch. We know that he's getting more and more confident. I expect him to come out like a bull in China shop. But again, if Usyk can sustain what he's been doing, then he's kind of used to that style. All the way through his amateur career, all the way through his cruiserweight career and so on. He's had guys trying to put it on him, you know. So yeah, if he's got enough left in the tank, then I think he would. But timing, you never know in this sport.
Last one from me, Dave. Obviously, the past weekend we also saw Keyshawn Davis lose his belt on the scales when he came just over 4 pounds over the lightweight limit. Yeah, that fight obviously got pulled, but Abdullah Mason and Sam Noakes has now been ordered by the WBO. What do you make of that fight if we do see it?
So the fight, I think it's a good fight. We were talking about it in the gym earlier. I mean, listen, I'm a big fan of Abdullah Mason as a prospect. Met him as well as a nice kid. Got dynamite in his hands, sharp, but he's shown that air of vulnerability. He's been dropped a couple of times in one fight. Um, Sam Noakes is heavy-handed, strong. He's better than what you think. You think he's just strong and just but he's also physically he's a grown man, whereas Abdullah Mason's still a young kid coming through. It's an interesting fight. You should because we like to hype the American prospects up. You would say flash sharpness, or he's too much of a sharpshooter for Sam Noakes. But if Sam can get into it and get into his rhythm, he makes it an interesting fight, and also it all depends on how he takes the shot against Mason. Because if he can hold the shot, then like I said, we've seen Mason get hurt. Once you've seen, it doesn't matter who it is, any fighter. Once we see that chink, any fighter can get dropped. It doesn't mean that he's chinny. It doesn't mean that he can't win world titles. But once you see a fighter get dropped, you've always got to think, well, he can be got at. So it's not an impossible task. Um, so it'll be interesting to see. I'm looking forward to it. It's a good fight. It's a good clash of styles. I think it makes for a really good fight. In terms of Keyshawn Davis, so disappointing. So disappointing. The whole 4 pound over is a piss take. The whole don't give a shit attitude. all about the money. It's just a bad attitude. And then what happened after was it with his brother and what have you, and the opponent that beat one of his brothers. That's disgusting, man. That really is. It's just low class and it's just a disappointment because you look at Keyshawn Davis as one of the future stars of the sport, but again, it's some of these prospects. It's all about the money. It's all about the flash and the chip on the shoulder and wanting to talk shit. Listen, boxing's also got another dimension to it. It's also like a majority of people out there are quite respectful. You can give the banter and give the chat, but you don't go around beating up somebody just because they've kicked your brother's ass. That's pathetic. So yeah, that was disappointing.
Dave, I think most people echo those words there at the end with what happened with the fight on Saturday. But yeah, appreciate your time. I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of
Just
your.
want to say, Ellis Price box on the Callum Simpson bill on the Sky Show at Barnsley. 3-0. He was absolutely outstanding. Bit of old school, standing in the pocket, grinding his opponent down, bit of long range boxing, shows it all. The kid's really good. Honestly, I've got to mention him. I'm so proud of him. He's the youngest in my stable. Really, really good performance. I had two really good days there. Both with Dan and then Elliot, both in the fifth round. But the performances were like spot on. And yeah, I can't wait for the next one now.
I see the smile on your face as soon as you started talking about him, Dave. So I look forward to when he's next out as well. But yeah, I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for speaking to me and thanks for speaking to Boxing News.
Nice one, mate. Cheers.